Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to solve Leetcode problem number 1, twosome. So the problem statement says, given an array of integers nums and an integer target, return the indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. You may assume that each input will have exactly one solution and you may not use the same element twice. So basically what this means is we're just looking for two numbers in a list of numbers that add up to a target integer. Let's take a look at one of the examples. In this example, we have an array of the numbers 3, 2, and 4, and the target number of 6. So what we can do is loop through the list and start at the first number and compare it to every number in the list. So we can say, does 3 plus 2 equal 6? And it doesn't. So then we compare 3 with the next number in the list. So then we ask, does 3 plus 4 equal 6? And it also doesn't. So now we can effectively eliminate 3 as being a possible answer. We've compared it with every other number in the list and it doesn't add up to the target number. Now we can move on to the second index, which is 2, and we can say, does 2 plus 4 equal the target number? And in this case, it does. So we can return the indices of these two numbers. Now we could stop here and we could code up a solution involving nested for loops. However, we would end up with an O of n squared solution, which is not very efficient. And if we flip back over to the problem statement, at the very bottom, there's this follow-up question. Can you come up with an algorithm that is less than O of n squared time complexity? So we can definitely do better than this. We know what our target number is already. So when we're looking at the number 3, the next number we're looking for is the target minus the current number. So we are looking for another 3. We know that if we find a 3 somewhere in this array, then we've found the answer. Similarly, when we're looking at the number 2, we know that we just need a 4. And so if we store this information somewhere, as soon as we get to the number 4, we can know that we found a match. So the way to do this is to store the value of what we're looking for in some kind of data structure. So when we get to the number 3, we know that we're looking for another 3. So we can go ahead and store that 3 in this data structure. And we get to the number 2, and we know that we're looking for 4. So then we store 4 in this data structure. Now, when we get to 4, we check, does this exist in our data structure already? And it does, which means there's another number in this array that needs 4 to add up to 6. But when we're returning the answer, we need to know the index of that number that matches to 4. So what we can do is when we're storing these numbers, we can also store the index of the other matching number. So in this case, when we're looking at the number 2 and storing the number 4, we'll also store the index of 2, which is 1. That way we find a match and we can return the index where we found that match and the index that that match corresponds to in our data structure. So by using this data structure, we're able to beat that O of n squared time complexity. We only need to loop through this array one time, which gives us a time complexity of O of n. Because our data structure only needs to store a key value pair, we can go ahead and use a hash table or Python dictionary to store this data. All right, let's try to code the solution in Leetcode. So we can go ahead and start by initializing our dictionary, and we'll call it matches. And then we'll loop through our list of numbers. And then we can check, does the number we're looking at exist in our matches dictionary? So if num in matches, that means we found a match. We can go ahead and return the value of matches at num and the current index. Otherwise, let's store the value of the target minus the number we're looking at in our dictionary with the value of the current index. And if we don't find a match, we don't necessarily need to return like an empty array or anything, because the problem statement said we can assume that each input will have exactly one solution. So we can stop here. Let's submit this and see how we did. And it looks like our solution worked. So if you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back next week with more Leetcode solutions. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.